What kind of mother cancels a family vacation over a single comment? The kind who's been pushed too far, that's who. I stood in my kitchen, the phone still warm in my hand, my son's words echoing like a slap. Mom, you're too old for this. Just stay home. Too old? At 58, I was hardly frail, hardly done with life. I'd spent months planning this trip to the Outer Banks, picturing us all together. Me, my son Ethan, his wife Lila, their 2 kids, and the beach house I'd rented with my own savings. It was supposed to be our first real family vacation in years, a chance to stitch us back together after too many missed calls and hurried texts. But Ethan's voice, sharp and dismissive, cut through that dream like a knife. I stared at the confirmation email for the beach house, my finger hovering over the cancel button. Did he think I was just some old woman, good for nothing but knitting and fading away? I wasn't, and I'd prove it. The air in my Raleigh home felt heavy that morning, thick with the weight of his words. I'd raised Ethan alone after his father left us when he was 6. I worked double shifts at the hospital, bandaged his scraped knees, cheered at his soccer games, and paid for his college without a single complaint. I wasn't perfect, but I gave him everything. Now, at 32, he had a life of his own, a wife, 2 kids, a tech job that kept him glued to his laptop. I didn't expect gratitude, but I didn't expect this either. Too old. The phrase burned. I thought of the beach house, its wide porch overlooking the Atlantic, the sound of waves I'd imagined sharing with my grandkids. I'd pictured building sandcastles with Mia and Lucas, their laughter mixing with the salt air. Ethan's comment didn't just hurt, it erased me. I walked to the living room, where photos of Ethan lined the walls. Him at 10, gap-toothed and grinning. Him at 18, tossing his graduation cap. Him at his wedding, Lila radiant beside him. Somewhere along the way, I'd become invisible. I sat on the couch, the cancellation email still open on my phone. My finger moved before my heart could catch up. One click, and the beach house was gone. I didn't feel triumph, only a hollow ache. But I wasn't done. If Ethan thought I was too old to keep up, I'd show him what I was capable of. I opened my laptop and started searching flights, destinations, anything that screamed adventure. By noon, I'd booked a solo trip to Costa Rica. Zip lining, hiking, maybe even surfing. Too old? I'd show him old. The next day, Ethan called. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was clipped, confused. Mom, what's this about the beach house? Lila says the rental company emailed her. You canceled it? Call me back. I didn't. Instead, I packed my suitcase, folding bright tank tops and hiking boots I hadn't worn in years. The kids would have loved the beach, I thought, and guilt tugged at me. Mia's 5th birthday was coming up, and I'd promised her a seashell hunt. Lucas, barely 3, would have chased the waves. But Ethan's words had drawn a line, and I wasn't crossing it. Not yet. I zipped my bag and drove to the airport, my heart pounding with something I hadn't felt in years, defiance. Costa Rica was a blur of green. The jungle hummed with life, monkeys chattering in the canopy as I stood on a rickety platform, strapped into a harness. The zip line stretched across a valley, a thin thread above a sea of trees. My guide, a young man named Javier, grinned. Ready, Linda? He asked. I nodded, though my stomach churned. I wasn't just proving something to Ethan, I was proving it to myself. I pushed off, the wind rushing past, my scream half terror, half joy. For those 30 seconds, I wasn't a mother, a grandmother, or too old. I was alive. Later, at the hostel, I met a group of travelers, mostly in their 20s, a few my age. We swapped stories over cheap beer, and I told them about the beach house, about Ethan. A woman named Claire, her hair streaked with gray, leaned in. You did the right thing, she said. Sometimes you have to shake them awake. Back home, my phone buzzed with messages. Ethan, Lila, even a voice memo from Mia asking why we weren't going to the beach. I listened to it 3 times, her small voice cracking my resolve. But I didn't call back. Not yet. I spent the next week hiking volcanic trails, my legs aching but strong. I kayaked through mangroves, my arms burning as I paddled. Each day, I felt less like the woman Ethan had dismissed. But the guilt lingered. Had I gone too far? Canceling the trip wasn't just about me. It affected the kids, Lila, even Ethan's plans. I sat on my hostel bed, staring at a photo of Mia and Lucas I kept in my wallet. I wanted to teach Ethan a lesson, but what if I'd hurt the wrong people? When I returned to Raleigh, Ethan was waiting at my doorstep. His face was tight, his arms crossed. "Mom, what the hell?" he said. "You canceled the beach house without telling us?" Mia's been crying for days. I invited him in, my heart racing. The living room felt smaller with him in it, his anger filling the space. "You said I was too old," I said, my voice steady. "So I figured you didn't need me there." His jaw dropped. "That's not what I meant," he stammered. I thought it'd be hard for you. The kids, the travel. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" The words sounded hollow. I'd spent my life protecting him, and now he thought I needed saving? I told him about Costa Rica, the zip line, the kayaking. His eyes widened, but he didn't speak. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something. Regret, maybe, or surprise. But we weren't done. Not by a long shot. Ethan sat across from me at the kitchen table, his hands fidgeting with a coaster. The silence between us was thick, the kind that presses against your chest. I wanted to shake him, to make him see the woman I'd become in Costa Rica, not the mother he'd boxed into some frail, outdated version of herself. "You think I can't keep up?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "You think I'm just some old lady who should sit this one out?" Ethan's face softened, but only slightly. "Mom, I didn't mean it like that. I worry about you. The kids are a lot, and the beach house is a long drive." His excuse felt flimsy, like a bandage over a deeper wound. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on his. "Ethan, I carried you through life. I'm not done carrying myself." He looked away, his jaw tight. I could see the wheels turning, the struggle to reconcile the mother he knew with the one who just zip-lined through a jungle. "You didn't have to cancel the trip," he said finally. "That was our vacation, too." The words stung, but they also lit a spark. He was right. The cancellation hadn't just been about me. It had ripple effects, and I hadn't considered them fully. Mia's voice memo played in my mind again, her small "why grandma" cutting deeper each time. But I wasn't ready to back down. "You made me feel like I didn't belong," I said. "Like I was a burden. Do you know what that feels like?" He didn't answer, but his silence said enough. The next day, Lila called. Her voice was softer than Ethan's, laced with concern. "Linda, what's going on?" "Ethan's upset. The kids are confused." "Why didn't you talk to us?" I hesitated. Lila had always been kind, the bridge between me and Ethan when things got tense. I told her about Costa Rica, about how Ethan's words had pushed me to prove something. She listened quietly, then said, "He didn't mean to hurt you. He's stressed. Work's been crazy, and he's trying to hold everything together." I wanted to believe her, but stress didn't excuse dismissal. Still, her words planted a seed of doubt. Had I overreacted? Was I punishing Ethan for something he didn't fully understand? That night, I dug through old photo albums, the ones I kept in a box under my bed. Pictures of Ethan as a boy, of me younger and tireless, juggling motherhood and work. There was one from a camping trip when he was 12, the two of us by a fire, his face smudged with marshmallow. I'd forgotten how close we used to be, how he'd tell me everything, his fears, his dreams. When had that changed? I traced my finger over the photo, my chest tight. Maybe I'd canceled the beach house out of anger, but it wasn't just about Ethan. It was about me, about reclaiming a piece of myself I'd let slip away. Still, the kids didn't deserve to lose their vacation. I needed to fix this, but not by giving in. The twist came the next morning. I was sipping coffee when my phone pinged with an email from the rental company. The beach house was still available. Someone else had canceled, and they offered me first dibs. My heart leapt, but I didn't book it right away. Instead, I called Lila. "I'm thinking of rebooking the beach house," I said, "but I need to talk to Ethan first. Can you get him to meet me?" She agreed, her voice warm with relief. I chose a neutral spot, a park near my house where Mia and Lucas loved to play. When Ethan arrived, he looked wary, his hands stuffed in his pockets. The kids ran to the swings, their laughter a stark contrast to the tension between us. "I got an email," I said, cutting to the chase. "The beach house is available again. But before I do anything, I need you to understand why I canceled it." Ethan's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. I told him everything. How his words had made me feel small, how Costa Rica had reminded me who I was. I'm not too old, Ethan, I said, and I'm not done living. I want this trip for the kids, for us, but not if it means being pushed aside. He looked at the ground, his shoulders slumping. I didn't know it hit you that hard, he said quietly. I thought I was looking out for you. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was a crack in his defenses. I felt the first stirrings of hope, but we weren't there yet. The park felt like a battleground, the air charged with what we hadn't said. I glanced at Mia, her pigtails bouncing as she swung higher. This wasn't just about me and Ethan anymore. The park was alive with the squeals of children and the creak of swings. But between Ethan and me, the silence was deafening. I watched Mia pump her legs, her small body soaring higher with each swing, while Lucas toddled after a butterfly, Lila trailing close behind. The beach house hung between us like a ghost, its fate tied to this moment. I wanted to rebook it to give the kids their vacation, but I needed Ethan to see me, not just as his mother, but as a person with fire still burning inside. Ethan, I said, my voice low but firm, if we do this trip, it's not just your show. I'm part of it. All the way. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. For a moment, I saw the boy from the camping trip, the one who trusted me with everything. Then he nodded, a small gesture that felt like a bridge. We sat on a bench, the wood worn smooth by years of families like ours. I didn't mean to push you out, he said finally. As I got caught up in my own head. Work's been brutal, and I thought simplifying things would help. Simplifying. The word grated. Was that what I was to him now? A complication to be managed? I took a breath, steadying myself. I'm not something you simplify, I said. I'm your mother. I'm Mia and Lucas's grandmother. I'm not done yet. His face softened, and for the first time, I saw guilt flicker in his eyes. I know, Mom, he said. I screwed up. I'm sorry. The apology was quiet, but it landed like a stone in still water, rippling through me. It wasn't enough. Not yet, but it was a start. That night, I rebooked the beach house. The confirmation email felt like a victory, but a fragile one. I texted Lila, asking her to bring the kids over the next day. I wanted to tell them myself, to see their faces light up. When they arrived, Mia ran to me, her arms wrapping around my legs. Grandma, are we going to the beach? She asked, her eyes wide. I knelt down, brushing a curl from her face. We are sweetheart, I said, and I'm going to build the biggest sandcastle you've ever seen. Lucas clapped his hands, oblivious but happy, and Lila smiled, her relief palpable. Ethan hung back, watching us. I caught his eye, and he gave a small nod, like a truce had been signed. The weeks leading up to the trip were a blur of planning. I threw myself into it, picking out beach toys for the kids, researching local restaurants, even buying a new swimsuit, bright blue, bold, nothing like the grandma cover-ups I'd worn before. But beneath the excitement, tension simmered. Ethan and I were civil, but the air between us wasn't clear. I sensed he was still processing, still grappling with the woman I'd become. One evening he called. Mom, can I come over? He asked. When he arrived, he looked tired, his tie loosened, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder. I've been thinking, he said, sitting on my couch, about what you said at the park, about not being done. I didn't get it before, but I'm starting to. He paused, running a hand through his hair. I want this trip to be good. For all of us. I nodded, my throat tight. It will be, I said. But we need to be honest with each other. No more assumptions. He agreed, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like we were on the same side. The next day, I found a package on my doorstep, a journal, leather-bound, with a note from Ethan, for your next adventure. Love, E. My heart swelled, but I tucked the journal away. We weren't fully healed. Not yet. The trip would be the real test. As the departure date neared, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. I packed my bag with care, adding the journal at the last minute. The drive to the Outer Banks was long, the kids chattering in the back seat of Ethan's SUV while Lila played road trip games with them. I sat up front, the ocean growing closer with every mile. When we pulled up to the beach house, its white clapboard glowing in the late afternoon sun, Mia gasped. "It's huge," she said, scrambling out of the car. Lucas toddled after her, and I followed, my heart full. Ethan carried the bags, his eyes meeting mine as we stepped onto the porch. "This is going to be good," he said, and I believed him. But as I looked out at the waves, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unresolved, something we'd have to face before the week was over. The beach house smelled of salt and cedar, its wide windows framing the Atlantic like a painting. Mia and Lucas ran straight to the porch, their small feet thumping against the wood as they pointed at the waves. I followed, my sandals sinking into the sand as I stepped outside. The air was warm, the sky a deep blue streaked with gold. This was what I'd pictured, our family together, the kids' laughter blending with the ocean's roar. But as I glanced back at Ethan, unloading groceries with Lila, I felt a knot in my stomach. His apology at the park had been a step, but it hadn't erased the sting of his words. Too old. I pushed the thought away, focusing on Mia as she tugged my hand. "Grandma, let's find shells," she said. I smiled, grabbing a bucket. "Lead the way, Captain." The first few days were a whirlwind. We built sandcastles, the kids giggling as I sculpted towers with drip of sand. I taught Lucas how to dodge waves, his chubby legs stumbling in the surf. Lila joined us, her laughter easy, but Ethan kept his distance, checking emails or tinkering with the grill. I caught him watching me sometimes, his expression unreadable. Was he still worried I couldn't keep up? Or was he seeing me differently now? I didn't ask. Instead, I threw myself into the kids, into the sun and salt, letting the rhythm of the beach pull me along. At night, we played board games, Mia's competitive streak, making us laugh until our sides hurt. For a moment, it felt like the family I dreamed of. Then came a twist. On the third night, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Lila got a call. Her face paled as she listened. Then she stepped inside, her voice low. When she returned, her eyes were red. "My mom's in the hospital," she said. "She had a stroke." The words landed like a punch. Ethan reached for her, but she shook her head. "I need to go to her," she said. "Tomorrow." The kids were asleep, unaware, but I felt the weight of it. Lila's mother lived in Charlotte, a 6-hour drive. Ethan looked torn, his eyes flicking to me, then the kids. "I'll stay with them," I said, my voice steady. "You go with Lila." He hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks, Mom," he said, and I saw something new in his eyes, trust. The next morning, Ethan and Lila left before dawn. I stood on the porch, waving as their car disappeared, the kids still asleep upstairs. The beach house felt quieter, emptier, but I wasn't alone. Mia and Lucas woke soon after, their energy undimmed. I made pancakes, letting them smear syrup everywhere, and we spent the day on the beach. Mia asked where her parents were, and I explained gently, keeping it simple. "They'll be back soon," I said, hoping it was true. That night, as I tucked them in, Lucas clung to my hand. "Stay, Grandma," he whispered. I did, lying beside him until his breathing slowed, my heart aching for Lila, for her mother, for all of us. Ethan called the next day. Lila's mother was stable, but weak. They'd be gone at least 2 more days. "You okay with the kids?" he asked. I heard the worry in his voice, not just for Lila's mother, but for me. "We're fine," I said. "I've got this." And I did. I took the kids to a lighthouse, helped Mia write a get-well card for her other grandma, kept Lucas entertained with stories. But by the 3rd day, exhaustion crept in. The kids were relentless, their questions endless. I felt my age, not in my body, but in the quiet moments when doubt whispered, "Could I do this? Was Ethan right to worry?" Then Mia climbed into my lap, her head against my chest. "You're the best grandma," she said, and the doubt melted away. When Ethan and Lila returned, they looked drained but grateful. Lila hugged me, her arms tight. "Thank you, Linda," she said. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Ethan stood behind her, his eyes soft. "You were amazing, Mom," he said. "I underestimated you." The words were simple, but they carried weight. I nodded, unable to speak. That night, we sat together on the porch, the kids asleep, the waves a steady rhythm. Ethan reached for my hand. "I'm sorry," he said again, and this time it felt real. "I see you now." I squeezed his hand, tears prickling. The beach house glowed behind us, a haven we'd reclaimed together. But the week wasn't over, and I knew the hardest moments were still to come. The tension broke like a wave, but the undercurrent remained. Ethan's apology on the porch had softened the air between us, yet I sensed we were still balancing on the edge of something unspoken. The beach house hummed with life. Mia's laughter, Lucas's chatter, Lila's quiet gratitude, but I couldn't shake the feeling that our reconciliation was fragile. I wanted to believe Ethan saw me now, not as too old, but as the woman who'd held our family together when it mattered most. Still, words alone weren't enough. I needed to see it in his actions, in the way we moved forward together. The next morning, I woke early, the sky still gray. I slipped outside, the sand cool under my feet, and walked to the water's edge. The ocean stretched endless before me, its rhythm steadying my thoughts. I'd proven I could handle the kids, the trip, the unexpected. But what did I want from Ethan now? Respect? Understanding? Or something deeper? A return to the closeness we'd lost? As the sun rose, painting the waves gold, I made a decision. I'd push him, not with anger, but with honesty. This trip wasn't just about the beach. It was about rebuilding what we'd let slip. Back at the house, Ethan was making coffee, his movements slow, like he hadn't slept. Lila was upstairs with the kids, giving us a rare moment alone. I sat at the kitchen counter, the journal he'd given me in my hands. "We need to talk," I said. He turned, his eyes wary but open. "About what?" he asked. I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. "About us. About what happens after this trip. I don't want to go back to being the mom you think can't keep up." He set his mug down, his face serious. "I don't want that either," he said. "I meant what I said last night. I see you, Mom. I was wrong." His words were earnest, but I pressed further. "Then show me," I said. "Not just here, but when we're home. Include me. Don't assume I'm too old for anything." He nodded, and for the first time, I felt he was listening, not just hearing, but truly understanding. We spent the morning planning the day together, a small but deliberate shift. He suggested a family hike along the dunes, something I'd mentioned wanting to do. "You lead the way," he said, a half-smile breaking through. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The hike was a turning point. Mia skipped ahead, collecting shells, while Lucas clung to Ethan's shoulders. I walked beside Lila, our pace steady, the wind carrying the scent of salt and pine. Ethan pointed out a heron gliding over the marsh, and we all stopped to watch, the kids whispering in awe. For a moment, we were just a family, no tension, no past hurts. But as we reached the top of a dune, the view stretching wide, Ethan turned to me. "Mom, I want you to come to Mia's birthday next month," he said. "Not just to watch her, but to be there. With us." His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. I nodded, my throat tight. "I'll be there," I said. That night, the tension flared again. We were playing cards, the kids asleep, when Ethan mentioned his work schedule. "It's going to be crazy again after this," he said, almost to himself. Lila frowned, and I felt the old fear creep in. Would he slip back into dismissing me once we left the beach? "Don't shut me out again," I said, my voice sharper than I meant. He looked startled, then nodded. "I won't," he said. "I promise." Lila reached for my hand under the table, her grip warm. "We're in this together," she said. I believed her, but I knew promises were only as good as the actions behind them. The final day arrived too soon. We packed slowly, the kids dragging their feet, reluctant to leave. As we loaded the car, Ethan pulled me aside. "I'm going to do better," he said. "Not just for you, but for all of us." I looked at him, searching his face for the boy I'd raised. He was still there, but he was also a man learning to see me anew. I hugged him, the first real hug we'd shared in months. "I know you will," I said. As we drove away, the beach house fading in the rear view, I felt a quiet hope. We weren't fixed, but we were healing. The ocean had given us a start, and I'd hold on to that. The drive back to Raleigh was quieter than the trip down, the kids dozing in the back seat, their faces smudged with sand and sunscreen. I sat up front, the journal Ethan had given me in my lap, its pages still blank. The beach house was behind us, but its lessons lingered. I'd gone from canceling the trip in a fit of hurt to proving I could handle anything, kids, crises, even my own doubts. Ethan's promise to do better echoed in my mind, but I knew trust would take time to rebuild. The road stretched ahead, and I wondered what our family would look like when we reached home. Back in my house, the silence was jarring. No waves, no laughter, just the hum of the fridge and the weight of routine. I unpacked slowly, hanging my blue swimsuit in the closet, its bright fabric a reminder of the woman I'd rediscovered. Ethan called the next day, his voice lighter. "Mia's still talking about the sandcastles," he said. "She wants you to come over this weekend." I smiled, picturing her small hands shaping towers. "I'll be there," I said. But as I hung up, doubt crept in. Would he keep his promise? Or would work, life, the grind of it all pull us apart again? The weekend arrived, and I drove to Ethan's house, a modest brick home in the suburbs. Mia greeted me at the door, her arms wide. "Grandma," she shouted, pulling me inside. Lucas toddled over, a toy truck in his hand. Ethan was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, a sight so domestic it caught me off guard. "Thought we'd cook together," he said, gesturing to the counter. "Like old times. Old times. When he was a boy, we'd make sloppy joes on Sundays, laughing as sauce dripped everywhere." I joined him, our movements awkward at first, then easing into a rhythm. Lila set the table, her smile soft, and for a moment, it felt like the beach house again. But life doesn't stay soft. A week later, Ethan canceled a dinner we'd planned. "Work emergency," he texted. The old hurt flare, but I pushed it down. "I call him instead." "I get it," I said, "but don't make a habit of it." He sighed, his voice tired. "I'm trying, Mom. I really am." I believed him, but trying wasn't enough. I started inviting Mia and Lucas over on my own, taking them to the park, baking cookies, telling them stories about their dad when he was young. Each visit built a bridge, not just with them, but with Ethan. He'd join us when he could, and I saw the effort in his eyes, the way he lingered to talk. One evening, as we watched the kids play in my backyard, Ethan brought up the journal. "Have you written in it yet?" he asked. I shook my head. "Not sure where to start," I admitted. He smiled, a real one, not the half smile of the beach. "Start with Costa Rica," he said, "or the beach house. Write about you." His words hit deep, and I realized he wasn't just seeing me, he was rooting for me. That night, I opened the journal, my pen hovering. I wrote about the zip line, the waves, the way Mia's laughter felt like home. I wrote about Ethan, about the boy he'd been and the man he was becoming. The pages filled, and with them, a sense of clarity. Months passed, and our family found a new rhythm. Ethan made time, not always perfectly, but enough to show he meant it. We planned smaller outings, a picnic, a movie night, each one a step toward trust. Lila's mother recovered slowly, and I became her confidant, listening as she navigated her own fears. The kids grew, their love for me a constant grounding force. I kept traveling too, short trips, a weekend in the mountains, a day at the coast. Each one reminded me I was more than a mother, more than a grandmother. I was Linda, and I was enough. Looking back, canceling the beach house was a spark, a moment of rebellion that forced us to face each other. It wasn't perfect, and neither were we, but it was ours. As I closed the journal one night, its pages nearly full, I felt a quiet peace. Ethan had hurt me, but he'd also grown. I doubted myself, but I found my strength. The beach house, the ocean, the journal, they were all part of the story we were still writing. And I knew, no matter what came next, I'd never let anyone call me too old again. The journal sat on my coffee table, its leather cover worn from months of use. I flipped through it sometimes, rereading the entries about Costa Rica, the beach house, the moments that had reshaped our family. Each page was a reminder of what I'd learned, that I could be hurt but not broken, that I could forgive without forgetting. Ethan and I weren't perfect, but we were better. He kept his promise, mostly showing up for dinners, calling just to talk, inviting me to Mia's school play. The kids were my anchor, their love unconditional, their small hands tugging me into their world. Lila, too, had become more than a daughter-in-law. She was a friend, someone who understood the weight of holding a family together. One spring afternoon, Mia asked if we could go back to the beach. The same house, Grandma, she said, her eyes bright, with a big porch. I looked at Ethan, who was sprawled on my couch, Lucas asleep on his chest. He grinned, a spark of the boy I'd raised. What do you think, Mom? Round two. I laughed, the sound lighter than I'd felt in years. Only if you don't call me old, I teased. He raised his hands in mock surrender. Never again, he said, and I believed him. We booked the beach house that night, the same one, its white clapboard waiting for us like an old friend. The trip was different this time. No tension, no unspoken hurts. We built sandcastles, flew kites, ate too much ice cream. Ethan joined us in the surf, splashing Mia until she squealed. Lila and I sat on the porch, sipping wine, watching the sunset paint the sky pink. You changed him, she said quietly. He's different now, because of you. I shook my head. We changed each other, I said. And it was true. Ethan had seen me, not just as his mother, but as a woman with dreams and strength. And I'd seen him, not just as the son who'd hurt me, but as a man trying to grow. On the last day, as we packed the car, Mia slipped a shell into my hand. For your journal, she said. I hugged her, my heart full. Back home, I taped the shell to a page and wrote about the trip, about the laughter, the waves, the way we'd come together. I wrote about forgiveness, about how it's not a moment, but a journey. I wrote about myself, about the woman I'd become, not too old for anything, not done with life. The journal was nearly full now, its pages a map of where I'd been and where I was going. As I closed it, I thought of Ethan's words at the beach house. Write about you. I would keep writing. Not just for him, or the kids, or Lila, but for me. The woman who'd canceled a vacation to prove a point, who'd zip-lined through a jungle, who'd held her family together when it mattered most. I wasn't too old, and I never would be. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning.